webinar. Firstly, I want to introduce Ernesto Ocampo and Mohamed Elias as organizers of this webinar. Come on, Ernesto. Good morning.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you, Emma. Thank you very much. Welcome to a new webinar on issues related to Cartagena Protocol and the Biosafety Clearinghouse. I hope you enjoyed this webinar and invite you to attend our list of webinars and disseminate these invitations to whoever you believe may benefit from our BCH education materials. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ernesto. Mohamed Elias now, please, come on.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Mohamed, so I'm also following Emma in her webinar in order to make translation to French and Arabic later. Okay, enjoy.
Thank you very much. Okay, this is a training activity to assist countries to implement an international agreement as an instrument for addressing the importation and exportation of any living modified organism resulting from modern biotechnology. This international instrument is called Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety, and the tool that we are going to use to give the assistance is called Biosafety Clearinghouse, or BCH. I am Emma Rivera. I was the manager in the design and development of the BCH in Colombia, participant at the BCH Formal Advisory Committee, regional advisor of the UNEP, manager and panelist of workshops in different Latin American countries. I am biologist and I am postgraduate in agrarian science and biosafety. Before beginning the conference, I would like to show you how to use your control panel in this webinar. To the left is the viewer through which you see the presentation. To the right is your control panel. To keep the control panel open, you can click the View menu and uncheck How to hide control panel. If not, it will collapse automatically. You can open and close your control panel with this arrow. You can use your audio mode. You can raise your hand for participate and submit question and comment through the screen that you have on the right side. I would appreciate if you send your question through this chat box, and then Ernesto, Mohamed, and I will try to answer them at the end of the session. It's very important to know that this webinar will be recorded for later publishing as part of the BCH education materials. When participating in this webinar, you understand and implicitly accept this fact. Webinar participants' opinions and concepts expressed during this webinar do not reflect the UNEP official positions about any aspects. In any case, the official word about any aspect related to Cartagena Protocol should be requested from the only UNEP official organization, Secretariat on the Convention on Biological Diversity. The red light indicates that the webinar is being recorded. If you do not want to be recorded, please maintain your microphone muted and don't share your screen. We are going to see a brief mention of the Cartagena Protocol, the second phase of the BCH project, the virtual learning environment with its education material about BCH, one case study, and the Cartagena Protocol issues related. At the end of this session, we will have a question and answer space. As I have said before, I would appreciate if you send your question through the chat box, and then we will try to answer them. The Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety had the procedures for the living modified organism transboundary movements. Some of the main procedures are the Advanced Informed Agreement procedures for LMOs for intentional introduction into the environment, LMOs for direct use as food or feed or for processing, LMOs FFP, unintentional transboundary movement of LMOs, information sharing about LMOs through the BCH. The BCH was established by the protocol in order to facilitate the exchange of information experience with LMOs and assist parties to implement the protocol. The Cartagena protocol requires parties some institutional arrangements. For example, each party shall designate one or more competent national authorities which shall be responsible for performing the administrative functions required by the protocol. Here there are some references which could be useful to get more information about the protocol. They are designed to enable users to understand the concepts of the Cartagena protocol. For example, the protocol webpage, education materials, training manuals. There are several training manuals available in PDF format, which contain interactive exercises and detailed steps required for each activity. Interactive modules. They are designed in Macromedia Flash and they can be downloaded and installed in your personal computers. Ready reference guide. They are reference handouts that provide quick overviews of frequently used parts of the Cartagena protocol and the BCH. And webinars. There have been Spanish, French, English, and Arabic webinars about the Cartagena protocol and its application and about the BCH. You can access them through this web page. The BCH II project allows developing this kind of training activities because one of the main objectives is to continue assisting countries in strengthening national capacities to effective access and use of the BCH. The BCH project has prepared and updated training packages in 5 United Nations languages to assist the countries in learning, understanding, and using the BCH. One of the main objectives is the global diffusion of these training packages. The BCH education materials are on the virtual learning environment on this web page. If you want to be a registered user to have access to all workshops that have been developed about BCH, you could send an email to moodle@bch2project.org with your name, surname, and country. If you are not a registered user, you can access this virtual learning environment as a guest. Here we can log in as a registered user or as a guest to the virtual learning environment. On the virtual learning environment, you can see the training packages in 5 United Nations languages: English, Spanish, French, Russian, and Arabic. You can see all the national and regional workshops that have been carried on. And you can access the webinars in Spanish, French, Arabic, and English languages about Cartagena protocols and its applications and about BCH. I can access the education materials in English by clicking on the green box BCH English Training Course. Here we have the education materials with different kinds of documents that we can download. There have been webinars about these education materials, and you can access to the recorded webinars. If I click on the case studies, you can access the 31 case studies into the education materials. Now, we are going to download the case study number 12. The title of this study case is "A Company Representative Seeks Information on Procedures for Exporting LMOs." Scenario: a competent national authority in Canada is contacted by a Canadian food processing company that wants to establish a new soup production and canning plant in Bulgaria. The company representatives wants to know what the company will be required to do if they want to ship corn grown in Canada to the Bulgarian facility. The Canadian Competent National Authority knows that transgenic corn is cultivated in Canada and so assumes that any corn shipped by the Canadian company could include LMOs. Reviewing the scenario, a Canadian food processing company wants to establish a new soup production and canning plant in Bulgaria. It asks to the competent national authority what it has to do for shipping corn from Canada to Bulgaria. As transgenic corn is grown in Canada, the Canadian Competent National Authority assumes that any corn shipped by Canadian company could include LMOs. Question 1. What transgenic corn events has Bulgaria approved for food use? Does Bulgaria have any national legislation that the company should be aware of if they choose to export transgenic corn from Canada to Bulgaria? Okay. About the question 1, where you can find information about transgenic corn approved in Bulgaria, because Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety stipulates that each party shall make available to the BCH any information required. For instance, its final decisions regarding the importation or release of LMO. So, under the Cartagena Protocol, parties are responsible for making available information regarding their LMOs decisions through the BCH. This is the web page of the BCH. In this web page, you are going to find information that the company needs about transgenic corn approved in Bulgaria. Okay, this is the web page of the BCH. On the navigation bar, on the Find Information drop-down menu, we are going to select Countries, Decision, and Other Communications. Now we can see different searching criteria boxes. In the country box, I'm going to select Bulgaria. In type of decision, declaration and notification or report, I'm going to select decision on LMOs for direct use as food or feed or for processing, LMOs FFP. In type of living modified organism, I select filter by parental organism, common name, and in common name, I select corn. Then click on the search button. Here we have 17 records about not only Bulgaria but the European Union. That is because Bulgaria is part of the European Union. A set of icons is displayed to the right of each record. For instance, this LMO has been approved in Bulgaria for directed use as food, as feed, or for processing. I'm going to open one of these records. If I click the ID record, I can see information about the decision. For example, you can see the competent national authority responsible for the decision or communication. You can download the document of the decision, or you can get all the information about the LMO about which it has been made the decision. I'm going to click on the record. When I click here, I can see the information about this LMO. We can see 3 tabs. The LMO Information tab displays a page that provides general information about the LMO. We can access to the LMO quick link. These links are small images files that identify an LMO through its unique identifier, trade name, and a link to the BCH where information on the LMO is available. Users can easily access the BCH page by either scanning the barcode or by typing the URL in a browser, in a web browser. The Decision on LMO tab display all decisions taken by countries regarding this LMO in a table format. The first column of the table displays the countries taking the decision. The rest of the columns indicate which category of use of the LMO have been addressed in the decision: domestic use or import, for food or feed or processing, or environment release for commercial or field trial. If a decision from a country addresses a particular use of LMO, then a green icon, or in some cases the record ID, will appear in the column corresponding to that category of use. Clicking on the icon or on the record ID will take the user to the record of the decision and display the information about it. The Risk Assessment tab provides a list of all records containing information about risk assessments regarding the LMO selected. This LMO. Okay. Now we are going to answer the second question. No, sorry. The Canadian Competent National Authority found that not all the LMOs that are cultivated in Canada have been approved in Bulgaria. Here are some of the LMOs that have not been approved in Bulgaria. Then, what are the requirements to import and approve the LMOs in Bulgaria? The second question is, does Bulgaria have any national legislation that the company should be aware of if they choose to export transgenic corn from Canada to Bulgaria? While you can find information about biosafety national legislation in Bulgaria, because the Cartagena Protocol stipulates that each party shall make available to the BCH any information required about existing laws, regulations, and guidelines for implementation of the protocol, and bilateral, regional, and multilateral agreements and arrangements. Now we are going to answer the question about the national legislation in Bulgaria. We have two ways for finding that information. On the navigation bar, on the Find Information drop-down menu, we can select Laws and Regulation. In the criteria boxes, we can select Bulgaria, in Countries box, Bulgaria, and then click on the search button. Now we have 29 records about the legislation in Bulgaria. We can find the information with these small windows, let's say country profile. In country profile, I can select Bulgaria. And now I can see all the information that Bulgaria has published to the BCH. We can see now 6 laws for Bulgaria and 21 laws for Bulgaria as a part of the European Union. I'm going to click, for example, Law and Regulation Guidelines. When I click here, Laws and Regulations, I can see a list of laws in Bulgaria. As an example, I found a law with requirements to import, export, and transit of GMO. It's the record number 8409. I'm going to open it. This is the details about that law, and I can download the document. Here we have the document about the legislation in Bulgaria, and I can read that any GMOs and GMOs as or in products shall be imported after obtaining an authorization from the Minister of Environment and Water or from the Minister of Agriculture and Forestry. Upon import, information regarding this presence of GMO shall mandatorily be entered into the veterinary or phytosanitary certificate. This is only one example of the information that can be obtained about the Bulgarian legislation, which is needed by the competent national authority in Canada and the Canadian Food Processing Company. Okay. This is the end of the presentation. Now I would like to open the space for the questions. Please, you can write the question or you can raise your hand if you want to do any question. I'm going to give some minutes for writing your question. No, I don't have any question. Well, thank you very much to everybody for attending this webinar. I don't have any question, but you can send your questions to the organizers of this webinar. Have a good day, and thank you very much for being in this webinar. Good day.
Emma, I see a hand by Johansen.
Yeah, we have finished the presentation, Ernesto.
Okay.
We don't have any question. I'm sorry.
I see no more questions.
No question.
Okay. Let's close.